Yeah, I mean, Kolento's been, I mean, this has been one of the strongest players in the scene for basically as long as it's existed. Just to give you a quick idea of what's going on. These are from leading from 2014 to current. Vigame House Cup #1, first place. DreamHack Winter, first place. Kingwood Charity winner, first place. China versus EU Season 2 helped lead the team to a victory of the Chinese. Gamers Assembly 2015, first place. Team Archon Brawl 2v2, first place. Kingwin Pro League, first place. WCA 2015, first place. I mean, this guy
The
has
list goes on and on,
yeah,
man. He's
this
so
guy
much.
has a wealth of trophies under his belt, as well as a top four at First World Championships. I mean, this guy has been one of the most dominant performers in the scene for as long as it's existed. We're going to jump into game #1, where Kolento, he's got Druid opening up, and that's a wild growth, very much indicating a mid-range Druid. And Amaz, he's got Glaive Zuka, Pilot Shredder, and Savannah Highmane in his hand. Usually when you see the mid-range decks, you don't really see Glaive Zukas in there, but I'm curious. Glaive Zuka's really good with a lot of one-drops. Are we seeing Desert Camel in this build?
Potentially, this could be where we see Desert Camel kind of do its work. Hybrid Hunter is definitely a deck I can see Desert Camel fitting into. Glaive Zuka is probably one of my favorite Hunter cards, even outside of the mid range, because it just has so much potential with the early game drops, and he does keep a hold of it there. And it definitely looks like Hybrid Hunter to me. And Hybrid Hunter is a deck that was used in the World Championships by VLPS, if I remember correctly. So he still believes it was a strong deck. This should do pretty well against the mid-range Druid, but that Druid hand looks pretty decent so far.
Yeah, I mean, sort of, I was talking about it earlier. One of the things I felt like Hunter was suffering from was a two-drop you could really take advantage of. Well, what the two-drop you can tend to take advantage of, honestly, is kind of Glaive Zuka. And if you're going to play a lot of one-drops, it feels like Camel fits into that build. I mean, maybe that's the direction Hunter needs to take if it wants to really snag control of the board early and make its big push. Hunter's Mark coming into hand. I know that works well with a lot of one drops too.
Yeah, that's going to have a heavy influence on the taunt minions Kolento's going to be able to put out. And here we go. Innovate coming down here. 4/6 taunt. Hunter's Mark in Amaz's hand. So he can deal with that straight away. And he doesn't even have to use a minion. He can actually use his weapon and use his life here if he chooses.
Yeah, I'm curious if we're going to see this abusive Sergeant this turn. I mean, it plays on curve. Does plan to swipe a little bit, but when your opponent's got 3 cards in hand, and this is your game plan, I don't think you can wait. And Amaz is going to turn up the heat. 7 points of damage coming Kolento's way, and he doesn't have a 4-drop. Hey,
No
that's a pretty
swipe.
good one, though.
That's a pretty good one, yeah. And he can use a Raffia to slow down things, not take the extra the extra 2 damage. Well, they take 4 damage, actually, if he uses Hero Power on that Leponome. And the Aspirant's not going to come down. He's actually going to deal with the Abusive Sergeant here and just try and slow down this board as much as possible.
Yeah, kind of an interesting play. Doesn't want Amaz to be able to thin out his traps. Animal Companion finds its way to hand. And this damage is not slowing down at any time soon unless Kolento picks up some tools to stop this.
And this
5
is
points damage, no answer at the moment. Keeper of the Grove, great draw for Kolento.
Yeah, you can ping off that Knife Juggler, slow things down, but at 14 health, the heat is definitely on here, and Maz is putting a lot of pressure. If Huffer comes down, never Huffer. Misha's pretty decent, though. I know, a 4/4 body with Taunt, the Keep on its own can't deal with it. But as we can see, Force of Nature is in Kolento's hand. We might actually see it.
See, this situation, this is where you know the viewer's perspective is actually from Maz. It's because you didn't roll Huffer. If you rolled Huffer, you would know that your perspective is from Kolento's instead. Because that's the way the game works. Force Nature gonna shut off a lot of this, but again, at 8 health, he's gotta tiptoe around this one. I mean, how much can the board really take? I mean, Amaz's got to unleash the hounds in his hand. The way that Kolento's going to win is getting minions on board and then pressuring him.
Oh, wow.
If it's minions on board, he's going to die, and a Loatheb gets picked up.
So he can't even stop this Loatheb with spells. It's just done, right? Amaz has what he needs to finish this game off. There's nothing that Kolento can do at this point. And again, the aggro decks are here. They're here to play, and Amaz is going to be able to take the first game.
I mean, Glaive Zuka will definitely take advantage of these situations. Unleash the Hounds punishes Kolento for falling so low on life. A very quick game #1 over to Amaz. Definitely I would say favored on the Hunter side of things. But with that kind of start, that was lightning fast out of the gates.
Yeah, that was Hybrid Hunter at its strongest. Had a good early start, put on pressure. Well, that Hunter's Mark changed everything. Picking up that Hunter's Mark and dealing with the Druid the Claw, he didn't have to use his minions. He could have used his face with the Glaivezooka, and those minions just did so much damage. Kolento did what he could to kind of deal with that pressure, but it just wasn't enough at that point. He was on 14 health at turn 4. What can you do as a Druid at that point?
You just gotta hope and pray. And it looks like he's gonna go with the same plan that Trump had here, which is play 3 aggressive decks and really put your opponent on the back foot. You know, maybe he's pegged Kolento for playing some of these aggro builds. But Tempo Mage, certainly a deck that can also put the heat on Druid. If they don't get going and get going early, that game could always slip away. But turn 1 Shade, fantastic start to this. Is this where Amaz is going to roll the dice and see if he can take out this Shade? Arcane Missiles comes out instantly.
Yes, he finds
it. He picks off a Shade that is a 2-for-1 in favor of Amaz. A single man that takes out an Innervate and a Shade next to Ramus. His hand is looking fantastic to take this game now.
Yeah, that Mad Scientist as well, the follow will find, I imagine, a Mirror Entity, and that is a card that just ruins Druid's day. Mirror Entity is so annoying and frustrating for them to deal with, especially if they don't have stuff like Aspirant or Keeper of the Grove to proc it and give them kind of a weak minion. If they're playing kind of a strong curve, that's definitely a card that's going to upset things. And once again, Druid of the Claw is going to come down on turn 3 with an Innervate. No Hunter's Mark this time, but there's definitely some stuff he could potentially do. Let's see what Unstable Portal finds him. Mal'Ganis!
Well, that may not necessarily be the best minion, but it certainly is a 9/7 for 6. That can always be a big threat. But no way to answer the Druid of Claw this turn. He's just going to have to run this Mad Scientist in timely as well, as that Keeper of the Grove gets drawn.
And that's do you want to get hit by Mirror Entity, ideally, and you might actually just go for it here. And then he's take it out.
You really don't want to give your opponent a Shade. Like they're the ones who's growing faster. You know, against a deck like this, it's going to be more pressure as well. Trade here, avoid any shenanigans with Flame Cannon or whatever.
Second Unstable Portal. Will he find another demon to go with it? 2 Mal'Ganis? Oh, a Clockwork Giant. Right now, that was
always great when your opponent has 2 cards in hand.
Oh man, yeah, that wasn't brilliant right now. But if Ancient of Law comes down a bit later, you might be able to utilize it. But as it looks, Kolento's just dumping his hand, putting enough board pressure to deal with anything. Amaz is going to be playing the next few turns.
It looked like Amaz was actually in such a good position to take this one after that initial Arcane Missiles, but then Kolento promptly picked up another Shade next Ramus, and he picked up the Keeper of the Grove afterwards. So he's able to deal with the Mirror Entity efficiently and didn't get punished for innovating out the Druid of the Claw. So kind of, early in Kolento's favor, but, look at his turn 7. This is exactly the turn Amaz needed to get control of this game again, was for Kolento to just completely whiff this turn. If he had access to Force of Nature, he could run this over, deal 7 damage, and keep going. But in this spot, his options are Hero Power. And that's it. He's got to figure out a way to now stifle this board pressure or put Amaz on the back foot and force him to answer everything. And with Amaz's hand, this is looking like it's going to be a very uphill battle to try to get this game done. But he does have Force Nature Savage Roar.
He does have that ready for when he needs to finish off. He's only 2 turns away from getting access to that. And if he just deals enough damage, especially if that Shade hidden, he'll have the tools to use it. But Mal'Ganis might be actually one of the cards that saves Amaz from combo. And a Druid having to use Hero Power on turn 7, nothing else, is just so terrible. They're a class that relies on momentum from mid-game onwards. And that Loafer was brilliant for Amaz. But he's one turn away from combo, and the Shade hidden away. Kolento might be able to steal this unless Mal'Ganis has anything to say about that.
Well, Darnassus Aspirant fell as well, so he's actually
1 more.
2 turns off of it now. But Kolento takes this opportunity to strike. He says 4 points of damage from the Shade is going to be good enough. And just like you said, I mean, that Mal'Ganis may end up saving this entire game. We'll find out what these Boombots hit first.
Ouch.
Wow, a Boombot for a Shade is usually in favor of the player with the Boombot.
Yeah, that was brutal. Kolento probably not very happy with that, revealing his Shade. But if he didn't reveal it, the Boombots would still have the potential to take it out. He needed to squeeze in what damage he could, and Amaz doesn't actually go for the Mal'Ganis just yet. He does recognize that he is, again, one more turn away. Oh, wow. Kona Cold is...
Even Unstable Portal, just the extra minion that you get. I mean, he's definitely considering the Kona Cold here. Actually going to take Arcane Missiles. That's kind of a peculiar take.
Maybe hoping for a Flame Waker, but Mal'Ganis is most certainly going to soon, right? He's not going to have enough mana to really do that yet.
Even going to take the greedy trades as well. I mean, Kolento's got 2 cards left. That's got swipe at this point. And once again, his options are extremely limited. Does Kolento feel like he needs to use Force Nature defensively this turn? I would say no. I mean, that's his win condition right now. But that's going to get completely toppled by Amaz having Mal'Ganis in his hand.
And Kolento having no answer for it. And then having this giant board as well. So this Force of Nature Savage Draw is more than likely going to be used to clear Mal'Ganis and some other things. And he can draw first as well.
Yeah, he's got 26 points of damage right now. I mean, there are cards he could pick up for lethal. That's got to be questions on his mind. Fireball, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 26 points of damage, it looks like. So not quite there. But again, Mal'Ganis is going to be such a great defensive spot. I mean, it's got to be Mal'Ganis at this point. Your opponent's rolling in turn 9. They've hero powered like 3 turns in a row. You have to know that Force Nature Savage is the turn here.
Yeah, if you're whiffing turns like turn 7 and after low feb, you must just think, of course he's got it. Oh wait, Arcane Missiles hero power.
I didn't spot the hero power. I forgot that the Arcane Missiles and the Fireball were discounted because the Sorcerer's Apprentice. I'm ridiculous. Forget me. It wasn't Mal'Ganis' turn. Doesn't come down. Apparently, when you have extra mana, apparently when you get extra mana, you can make a lot of cool stuff happen.
And another quick game for Amaz. Another aggro deck dominating in this tournament. Amaz seems to have had the same thought as Trump. You know, take these aggro decks, punish these slower decks that Kolento might be playing, and he's again 2-0 up. He's 1 game away from winning.
I mean, just a fantastic spot for him to know that I was looking 3-4-1 mana and the 2 mana more from the hero power. I'm so embarrassed. But yeah, I mean, you're spot on with that. The players that are playing the aggressive deck are trying to take advantage of the fact that the slower builds are out there. But then with this Warlock, it looks like this is a Dragon Warlock. That Twilight Drake and Azure Drake really kind of giving that one up. And I'm curious how this match rolls. I mean, with this opening hand from Kolento, this definitely could be a traditional style of Dragonlock build as well.
Malygos mirrors?
The Soulfire, yeah. I mean, this could be Malygos Lock mirrors, for sure. The Soulfire is very telling of that. An extra burst, and the Brand Bronzebeard picked up as well. This is a list that Purple played to a DreamHack victory, actually, very recently.
I'm pretty sure he did state that he believes this deck can win any matchup. He's very confident with this deck. And Bran is such an amazing addition to this style of deck. I mean, it hits so many different targets. 6 damage, Blackwing Corruptors, double Twilight Drakes and Guardians. I mean, Bran complements this deck more than any other deck in the metagame right now.
Yeah, not to mention the anti-heal burst you can get from it as well.
Oh yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, so right after you play 2 aggressive decks, slow things down with Malygos Warlock. These players are not wasting any time, though. They're playing lightning fast at the moment.
And this play is probably to Amaz's favor more than Kolento because he has some momentum in this matchup right now. He's 2-0 up. If he can force Kolento to kind of match his pace, Amaz probably feels very comfortable right here. And I have seen situations in previous tournaments where other players have tried to match the winning player's pace in plays, and it can lead to some devastating results if you don't slow down and think and kind of work everything out. But Life Coach is one player that doesn't get affected by that at all. He will take his entire turn every turn. He doesn't.
Well, if there's a player I think it can match pace, it definitely is Kolento. It's a ton of games played under his belt. Very experienced player. I mean, I don't really think the pace is going to affect him too much. Pretty much, he knows where he needs to fight for tempo, where he needs to fight for advantage. It's turns like these where it's difficult decisions. This is where he really needs to slow down. Up until this point, his decisions have been pretty cut and dry, but this is the first real one we're seeing. So,
is this a foursome turn?
So many possibilities.
I think he's missing maybe 1 or 2 tools. I mean, he does have 2 burn spells in his hand, but does he have time to use the burn spells? I think he's going to favor Life Tap and Twilight Guardian. Again, this is matchup a lot about value. Whoever's finding that Malygos first, oftentimes will have the advantage. You do have to fight for the board presence, but keep going as well. So value trade. Looks like hope for 2.
Yeah, Guardian's going to be able to help things out here because Amaz will have to use spells to deal with it right now. He doesn't have one of his own to play to kind of counter it. Hellfire is going to deal almost straightforward, and then he can just run that guy in, put a Mole Coil down, and now things have leveled out. They have it. He has 1 extra little imp.
Yeah, it does have a little imp, but Kolento's going to be the first one to actually develop on this turn, which usually that speaks to the player who's getting the development. And Kolento realizes that when he's got the initiative, it's very unlikely he's going to have to use these burn spells defensively. So feels free to chuck down the Thorson. on this turn. If he finds Malagos, it's 9 mana plus 1 mana plus 0 mana, and for 17 damage at this point. Plus, there's always the threat that the Emperor Thorson might live for a turn. I mean, Amaz, he's having to use Dark Bombs defensively right now, and this is something that's important to talk about too, is the first player to have to use burn spells defensively, oftentimes the one who finds himself behind. They lose the potential for that big Malagos burst and get lost in this giant grind battle that they have to fight instead. So the fact that Kolento has played this so aggressively might play out in his favor, knows that Brand doesn't have to be used as a defensive tool in this game either. He's free to take full control of the board with the double Blackwing Corruptor.
Yeah, it's such an aggressive play, and it's brilliant. Like you said, for Kolento, he has the initiative, and he's capitalized on it. He's making sure Amaz is playing reactively from now on, and then he can take a step back and say, I can play my cards however I want them. But Amaz does have a short-term answer here. He can Mortal Coil the Brand, stop him getting any more value from that. But the double Blackwing was excellent there, dealing with that Azure Drake. And he still has board.
Yeah, that's the thing about it, is showing you the importance here of Brand. Amaz chooses to Mortal Coil a 2-1 over a 5-1 because the Brand effect is so powerful. He knows if he leaves it around for another turn, there's the threat of Twilight Guardian, there's a threat of more Blackwing Corruptors. It may just not be something he can afford right now. Imp King Boss is going to match up against this, but he's got to take 5 damage. So I think the anti-heal bots are going to play in favor of Amaz this game. But overall, what Amaz has had to invest, I feel like Kolento's got a minor advantage because of that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like you said, the anti-heal bots are going to be used more because Amaz needs to use them. With Kolento, on the other hand, he doesn't need this anti-heal bot. He's playing it for board, whereas Amaz will he just swings in for face, and there's Malagos. But no, honestly,
this is something we haven't always seen from Kolento too. I mean, a player who loves to favor trading in this situation, but really understanding the amount of damage that he has right now, that extra 5 could play a big role in winning this game. Amaz finds the first Malagos, but again, he's had to use stuff defensively to keep control of this board.
Wait, does he have lethal coming up?
Well, he's got the thing about
heal
it
bot,
is, the anti-heal bot's there plus the taunt, so gonna be able to slow this down a little bit, but does have the first Malagos, so some potential for, if Amaz can get lucky and fade the other discard on the Soulfire, he does have 18 burst himself. So both these players are gonna have to fight and really regain control of this board. I mean, it's very rare that you see a fight for board happen, dissolve back into like one player having pressure and then go back to a fight for the board. Very rare circumstance, but Kolento doing a fantastic job of doing so. Doesn't have another Twilight Guardian hand, so can't activate that. Doesn't have another Dragon hand, so can't activate the Twilight Guardian. Just goes for the 3/3 body instead. And once again, Amaz on the back foot, but with Dark Bomb drawn, is this going to be the time that he feels like he can pressure it all? It's 18. Oh, he's going to have to play it defensively, it looks like.
I really love that play from Kolento. Like, it's almost like an aggressive heal bot. He doesn't care about the healing anymore. He just wants to be able to close this game out as fast as possible. And with having 2 Dark Bombs and a Soulfire, but Thorson's actually going to come down and what's he going to throw away? Did he go big game? Throws away a Soulfire. That was huge.
Yeah, losing their Soulfire. Very disappointing this matchup. Big Game Hunter's largely dead in this matchup. Just not a lot of 7-power stuff to hit, if at all. And oftentimes you're going to have to couple up with Abusive Sergeant to take something out. But even then, a few 5-power minions found in this one. Really, it's a big battle for attrition, and it looks like Kolento's winning that right now.
What do you like from him here? Maybe a Leponome to kind of go with his game plan? Because he is playing super aggressive. Voidwalker, if he decides to leave the forest on that, Voidwalker will be able to tank something, but I do like the Leponome. He gets another Peddler as well, so if he does find an Abusive Sergeant, he'll be able to big game Hunter himself.
Oh, wow, Soulfire too.
Wow.
I mean, his decisions, I feel like, are largely inconsequential from the minion perspective right now, so, picking up the extra damage might be the push that he needs. I mean, he's seen anti-kill bots from Amaz. He knows he's low on cards at this point. He knows he's got board. I mean, this feels like the situation is going to push, but Emperor Thorson, always frightening. I mean, it's got to be something he's considering killing right now.
Maybe he's just
looking for an Abusive Sergeant for that big game hunter. That's what he's looking for. Is going to be using Dark Bomb instead, though, and even playing the big game hunter just for tempo, really showing you it's just not that important of a minion in this matchup. It's just strictly a 4-2. Maz, pressure pretty much dead at this point.
But he has a Dark Peddler. Maybe he'll find something. Oh, a Soulfire. That's something he had to throw away earlier.
Yeah, Mortal Coil.
He has to do it. Slow things down, right?
He's got to get back to it. He's got to get back to board. Second anti-kill bot's not too bad.
And here come the big game hunters from Amaz as well. At least one of them. And he heals. This is so back and forth. I like this game so far. Kolento has his game plan.
Oh, goodness.
Wow. That's a lot.
That is a lot of potential damage. I mean, I would be stunned if Malagos didn't in some way affect this turn. I mean, either being activating the Twilight Guardian or either be just hitting the board itself. But now this is the first turn. I think Kolento's got a real fork in the road in front of him. Does he want to play aggressive, or does he want to keep things slow? And he knows that because he's got the advantage, time is on his side. He doesn't need to rush things at this point. That's why he chooses to not go with the Malagos right away. And just the repetitive damage from minions is going to start adding up at this point. I mean, Amaz is down to 2 cards, and his life is going to slowly start chipping away. And with potential for 18 burst in hand for Kolento.
That's not a bad pickup, but not enough, really. He can kill the big game hunter, but that dragon's going to be able to sit there quite healthy. He needs to tap to find something else to go with it. Zombie Chow, what a withdrawal there. Not something he wants to see. And like you said, Kolento is in the driver's seat here. He can take a step back. He can slow down his play because he knows that at some point he's going to be able to throw so much burst damage from hand.
I mean, this is an opportunity to potentially go for it here. I mean, this is a 66.676 repeating, of course, percent chance to win the game. Is that the kind of play that Kolento wants to make, though? Looks like he's opting for defense. I mean, with the Hellfire drawn, can certainly just slow things down. I mean, maybe he can lock up a for sure victory instead.
I like it.
Yeah, the Hellfire damage negated on himself from the Zombie Chow. Gets to push 3 extra damage, put an Azure Drake behind this. I mean, this is almost guaranteeing lethal next turn. Amaz has to deal with this board right now.
And he taps. Can he find another answer? He's been playing so defensively pretty much the whole game. And this might not be enough now. The Soulfires alone will be enough to punch through. He has an extra spell power. Yeah, he has extra spell power. Here we go, 7 damage. Mortal Coil. Taking out that taunt. And he can
wow. Excellently played by Kolento, really reading the board state very well. Again, not taking the chance for lethal and sacrificing board position as a result, understanding that Amaz is just so low on utility at that point that he can continue to develop and keep Amaz in the same situation he's been turn after turn. Very patient play, and it locked up a much higher win percentage. And say, had he played Malagos, lost the Soulfire flip, and then maybe Disaster Strike, say Amaz had gotten a Power Overwhelming off a Dark Peddler or something and was able to play Sylvanas and Power Overwhelming, steal the Malagos from him. It's very rare situations, but if there's situations that you can afford to play around, you definitely should be.
Yeah, so much patience from Kolento, and some players might have been played a little bit more hasty than him, but Kolento, definitely recognizing the situation he was in and how far ahead he was on board and in resources, and like you said, guaranteeing that lethal. We said before the Hellfire play, we said no, you could just go for it now, but him going for that Hellfire play was fantastic because, like you said, it guaranteed that he would win next turn. He had the patience. He knew Amaz wasn't going to squeeze a win in one turn, and it definitely played to his advantage, getting him up a game at least. So now Kolento has a fighting chance.
Yeah, even Wildgrowth picked up here too. Fantastic start for Kolento at the moment, and this shade is going to grow just outside the Hellfire range in time. Such a good news feeling when you know that you got the shade to fade the Hellfire.
Yeah, and it can grow and grow, and you can use it to fight for board, or you can use it to push for damage. But this is a matchup I can imagine Druid quite like to be in, because they can put a lot of board pressure on, and then they can find a quick win with the combo if the Warlock doesn't have all the answers he needs. But he does have a lot.
Rolls down. I mean, a lot of this matchup rolls down to the tempo side of things. If Kolento can find timely Blackwing Corruptors. I'm sorry. If Amaz can find timely Blackwing Corruptors for key minions, really keep the early board under control, it's oftentimes is in his favor. But the shade growing, inevitability, really feels like it's on Kolento's side right now. So, and plus Amaz's hand, it's very high on utility, very low on threat potential. So a lot of things could definitely go wrong for him in the next couple turns.
I mean, these Hellfires kind of lost their potential once that shade grew out of range. If that shade was played on turn 3, Hellfire would have been a great turn 4, a great thing to coin out, especially with the Dark Peddler on this side. But yeah, it's just not looking great so far for Amaz. Finds 5 health.
Kolento feels like this is big enough to just push. This is a situation he might get punished for. It's very hard to think that Amaz might have Hellfire, Mortal Coil, coin Mortal Coil in this situation. He could even just Soulfire in Mortal Coil. I mean, a lot of things can really go Amaz's favor in this situation. So if he can take advantage of this turn, that's really where he's going to find his win rate. So it looks like he's opting for Endgame Boss to contest the Dark Peddler, and then he wants to Soulfire and Mortal Coil to take out this Shade and wisely coins first to avoid ever discarding that coin and leaving himself stranded. Even discards the extra Hellfire here. So great turn for Amaz. This may be his stabilizing point, but again, very low on minion actions and very high on utility.
Yeah, Kolento didn't really have the cards to kind of complement being aggressive with that Shade. He could have just left it there and grow and grow and grow until he found the combo pieces or found a minion he'd like to trade with. But now Amaz here can clear the board once again, and now Amaz is starting to stabilize. But he is at that 14 health mark, and there is a Savage Roar in hand. But Twilight Guardian is going to help. Oh, great for him there again. So he does have it now.
He's going to Wild Growth too to set this up. Locks out the spells from Amaz, but that Twilight Guardian may be enough to keep him alive, but he's got to deal with the Loatheb as well. Kolento throws out a welcome. Oh my.
Are you telling Amaz too much with that? Or is he just thinking, or Amaz is thinking, is he trying to mind game me, or is he just being really cheeky here? So Amaz is slowing down, trying to consider. I wonder if that emote changed anything.
Well, his hand's pretty much locked into place. I mean, the Twilight Guardian almost certainly has to come down.
To protect yourself, for sure.
I think what he's trying to do, Kolento's trying to do is get Amaz to willingly take the risk this turn, but it doesn't really look like it's that much of a risk. You know, he can't deal with the Loatheb this turn, and so Force Nature's Savage Roar just going to end this pretty much regardless of what line Amaz chooses to take here.
Even Druid of the Claw Savage Roar would be enough at this point, so there's a lot of ways that Kolento can finish off this game, and Amaz goes for the Guardian, which is correct here. Do you tap as well? I don't think you have can afford to tap right now. Not without a heal bot first.
Well, his plays are going to be inconsequential at this point. Force Nature Savage Roar is going to end this game.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And as well played as this was from Amaz, Kolento pushing that damage right at the right time was enough for him to end this game, plus picking up that Force of Nature. We're going to game number 5, boys. It was a quick 2-0 from Amaz, but now it's a quick 2-0 for Kolento. Just like that, a series can turn around.
So much aggression coming from this tournament so far. We've had like snappy games, good aggro plays from a lot of players, and now we're going to have mid-range or Secret Paladin or Reno Paladin or Murloc Paladin. So many different Paladin decks around at the moment versus this Warlock, and this Warlock has been letting Maz down a little bit, but he's played the best he can. It's not like he's misplayed. He just hasn't had the draws to kind of be able to fight not only the first Malilock, but in that Druid situation, it was just too fast for him to deal with.
Yeah, and Secret Paladin, not really a surprise to see from Kolento. He will play what he feels like is the best deck very often. Understands why it's the best deck, but this is a matchup that I've seen go both ways very often. A lot of it, I think, boils down to the early turns. And Kolento opting to go with the Zombie Chow secret versions instead, wants to lock up that additional body value, knows that his game plan with this deck oftentimes is to fight for the board in the first couple of turns. And that oftentimes means the Zombie Chow is going to die without really too much value in it. And then with the True Silver Champion picked up, also kind of a unique choice. I've seen a lot of players completely cut True Silver Champion, but Kolento kind of wants to catch all his bases, wants to have a lot of options open. And Imp Gang Boss always does a fantastic job at fighting for the board.
Yeah. I mean, 1 True Silver is not too bad. 2 is just too much now because there's so many weapons you want. Coghammer's becomes such a powerful card as well. And Mustard's going to be able to at least clean up one of these 1/1s. You can use a shield as well. And this is such a strong board, but it walks straight into Hellfire. And Amaz will be able to reset things here, which will be great for him because he wants to slow down the Secret Paladin as much as possible. Yeah, but he can't do it just yet, though. But yeah, Bran, wow.
Yeah, Bran, honestly, I like playing the Bran here too. It kind of acts as almost like a mini Hellfire. A lot of times, your opponent has to respect this card. You know, if you disrespect the Bran, you're going to run into big Twilight Drakes very often afterwards. I mean, it's pretty rare that this is a bluff from Amaz, I would say. This definitely has to be a consideration for Kolento to kill this. Not only that, but he can also kind of hedge his bets versus Hellfire in a situation like this too.
And True Silver Champion this is a situation where it's perfect. He could go for True Silver, keep his board intact, but I don't think Amaz will be too bothered with that because he does have the Hellfire on 4. But Kolento has that beautiful kind of Secret Paladin curve where he goes into a 4-drop, goes into a 5-drop. If he finds a Mysterious Challenger, things could look pretty tough for Amaz.
Yeah, curve looking great. Definitely his board position right now. And Amaz is going to opt to Hellfire. So here we go. Is this reset going to be enough for Amaz to take control? Or is that True Silver Champion going to provide too much value for Kolento? I mean, I think that's really the battle at this point.
I mean, he has a lot of targets, Azure Drake being one of them. Twilight Drake is going to be one that kind of sits out of range, but he could probably choose to ignore it. No fear of Molten Giants or anything like that. He can put as much pressure on it as he chooses. Another Shredder being picked up here. Knife Juggler Shredder. He's just seen a Hellfire, so maybe not expecting any more AoE. And the stronger board he develops, he has Low-Feb sitting in the back ready to lock out any AoE removal.
This is a very dangerous spot for Amaz. At this point, he's got to figure out how he resets his board position. And then when you reset the board position, I mean, that's what makes Secret Paladin so strong, is to continue to go afterwards.
Oh, Abusive
Series
Sergeant's gonna
Challenger.
help. Oh, Mortal Coil's fine as well. So Mortal Coil and Abusive Sergeant. 2 options he could have gone there. He could have developed another 2-1. But it goes to Mortal Coil.
I like hanging on to the Abusive Sergeant here in the event that he draws Big Game Hunter. Does have 2 copies of that in his hand. So maybe he can handle a Mysterious Challenger, say the Avenge falls the wrong way for him. Or maybe even a Lotheb at that point. Or even Tyrion. You can just Abusive Sergeant Big Game Hunter Tyrion. Maybe you can keep control that way. But Kolento with 2 Shredders definitely has major board advantage at the moment. This is scary for Amaz.
And Noble Sack is going to be able to lock out this 4-2. It's going to be able to take it out as well. So lock in any kind of removal on board from Amaz. And Amaz, the story of this Mali lock for him so far has been playing reactively. He's had to just react to all of Kolento's decks so far. He's never been able in a position where he feels comfortable and he can just play what he wants. But this is going to be a way he can stabilize. That 3-6 is going to be able to help, but it might not be enough at this point. There's so much pressure, and that Low-Feb is definitely going to do some work.
Yeah, very patient play from Moz too. Knows that if he attacks his Twilight Drake, he's likely to run into either Avenge or Noble Sacrifice. Both those pretty poor form at the moment. But Kolento just takes this opportunity to add more pressure to the board with that Knife Juggler. You could see some disaster strike.
Oh, that is...
Wow. That one's brutal. No juggles on the Imp Gang boss. It's exactly what he needs right now, too. Kolento in full control of this game.
What can he draw? Dr. Boom, that's not going to be enough at this point. And the Imp Gang boss can't even trade because it's locked out by the Noble Sacrifice. The Taunt will be able to slow him down, but... Oh, man, this is so tough for Amaz. This deck has just been struggling so much against Kolento's lineup.
Wow, juggle goes to face as well. Just doesn't even get the extra value there. His Twilight Guardian silence is just enough to keep him alive. He's going to take 8 damage just from the Lotheb and the Knife Juggler if he makes that play. And then it gives Kolento at least 2 shots. Or at least 1 shot for the Knife Juggler. I mean, we could be looking at potential lethal this turn.
Guardian most certainly has to come down here. He can't even tap into anything that can help him. Like I said, Owl going to come down out most likely. Kill the Knife Juggler. That's the best target there. I mean, the Shredder, you most likely want to take out the Shredder in most cases, but the knives are just too deadly, and he does drop an Abusive Sergeant as well, just to try and fight back here. But a whiff draw from Kolento there.
I mean, this is exactly the kind of turn Amaz need to get back into this. I mean, say he draws Antique Healbot back behind this. You're looking at a potential recovery, but still an uphill battle. I mean, that's the danger of Secret Paladins when you get to the late turns. If you haven't drawn Mysterious Challenger, you can just still draw secrets, but maybe a Shredder drop can end this game. It's not going to do it this turn.
No Bluegill Warrior for him, unfortunately.
Set Amaz to 1. Is that the play? And it looks like that's exactly what he wants to do. Amaz down to a single draw. Can he pick up what he needs to regain control of this game?
That's not what he needed. The redemption alone is going to be devastating because he can't even clear the Low-Feb at this point. But even if he could clear all the minions with his 4 minions, redemption would bring 1 back, and that 1 would just be enough to finish the game. Is there anything he can do? I don't think there is.
I mean, at this point, it's got to be a lead with the Azure Drake, right?
Yep, see if he can pick up something. So redemption hits the
extra
Knife
minion
Juggler.
body is good enough.
All right.
I mean, it's do or die at this point. I don't know what's in Kolento or in Amaz's deck that can get him out of this situation, but it needs to be right now.
Dark Bomb. Okay. So Dark Bomb, low. I don't think that's enough.
Yeah, it doesn't look like you can shut off this damage.
That's really unfortunate for Amaz. His Mali lock just didn't have the stuff to beat Kolento's lineup. He did get the Dark Bomb, the 2-3, but Low-Feb's just going to stick around.
Yep, that Bloodsail Raider.
Oh, the
The
Bloodsail.
lone survivor.
And Kolento looks very happy with this, and he taps to end the game.
Oh, it was so close.